Welcome in to DNVR Buffs Live, presented by the American Eagles, American Raptors. What? It's so late. American Eagle. I got an ad for them today, and I was like, "Come
American
on,
Raptors."
I'm a grown man. Like I don't need to wear American Eagle. We don't need to be bashing American Eagle to start the show. There's gonna be plenty to bash. But we're talking about the Buffs losing 35-13. I'm Henry Chisholm. That's Ryan Konigsberg. It's super late, and we're going to hang out, and we're going to talk through all of this. You excited about that, Ryan?
No, not at all. What I am, I don't know if excited is the word. I'm excited to lead off here by telling the story of how we got to where we are right now in terms of transportation. Leaving the stadium was an absolute joke trying to get an Uber, which is just like a problem across America right now, which is why it's so great to take the DNVR party bus if you're going to the Broncos game tomorrow. Slight plug.
Always plugging.
But so we couldn't get an Uber. One of them canceled on us. We walked away from the stadium. It took us so long to get an Uber that Henry did an entire media tour thing before we were finally able to. So then Henry calls me and he's like, "Hey, I'm leaving the stadium. Like, where are you at?" I'm like, "We still haven't been able to get an Uber." Then of course, right when he says that, one hits and it's like 2 minutes away. I'm like, "Henry, just run. You got to make it here." So we literally get in the Uber. Henry runs across an intersection and jumps into the Uber right as we're turning left. And we made it here. And the music was blasting the entire time to the point where our Uber driver missed our turn, didn't know where to go. And you would think once you don't know where to go, you would lower the music so we could tell you where to go. But she just wasn't interested in that. She just wanted to figure it out with the music blasting.
I really liked her. I had a good time. And I didn't just run across that intersection. I ran about a half mile wearing this in the Arizona heat after a long day with my laptop and my iPad looking all dumb. Yeah, that was an adventure. But I did really like her. I really liked her. She played. I really like the music. I think that's something we have in common. I don't know what language that was. It was a cool one for sure. She was eating McDonald's, which is another thing that I can relate to. Yeah, I had a good time. It was a nice little reset to the vibes after a bunch of really sad things and a bunch of really sad conversations with really sad people.
Yes. I mean, she did have good vibes. I can't take that away from her. And you're right. Those are much better than the vibes around Colorado football right now.
Yeah. And
yes, we are in the same Airbnb, but in different rooms. Can't you tell by the color of the paint and such?
A lot of Arizona themed art. We get a bunch of if you want it, work for it. There's just little signs all over the place. I really hate that kind of thing. Really, really, really hate it.
I mean, there's a sign in my bathroom that says, "Hey there, sweet cheeks."
Yeah. Aren't you clever making your little signs, whoever you are? But yeah, this mindset is everything. Whatever.
Okay.
Let's get sad. We're going to start out just by kind of letting things go. So the plan for this show, by the way, we're going to start with the pain game, which is where we talk about a bunch of different things that happened in the game. And then, we rate them on a scale of 1 to 10 to say how sad or how painful this was. From there, we're going to go with the blame game, which is where we start to move past the emotions a little bit and kind of decide on okay, who is at fault for the things that happened? That's going to be a very long segment. And then we'll wrap things up with helmet stickers at the end, kind of like a bright note, talk about the positives, and that will be a short segment. So that's kind of the plan, and we'll just jump in. So, the pain game. I want to start with the first drive where Colorado doesn't really get much going. I don't think that there was a bunch of belief that drive was going to go well, but for them to go out there, not really show much of anything. Where does that rank? 1 to 10, with 1 being obviously not that painful. That's you're scrolling through the internet and it's this guy died, but it's a guy who's like in a movie and like a little side character. And you're like, oh, well, that sucks. But also I thought of him for like 10 minutes once ever, with like the 10 being you're in a car wreck where like you should probably die, but then you didn't die.
This is a bad game for me, Henry, because I'm so numb. I'm so numb inside. You can't kill a man who's already dead. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know if I really feel pain. But I guess if I like equate it to frustration, it's like a 5 or a 6. Because I mean, I'm just trying to remember how I felt at the time. I like fully was expecting that. But I have to say, like, all week, Henry and I was talking to you about how they just have to have something new. They gotta have something to pull out of the bag. They gotta have a wrinkle, and I didn't see that today. And I was fully expecting on that first drive, like, oh, maybe they get a little like bubble screen to get Brendon Rice a completion. How about a pop pass? How about anything? But if I remember correctly, it was 2 runs and a sack, right?
Yep. A lot of sacks still.
That's a fucking joke, dude. Like, that's what's been happening for 2 weeks. 2 runs and a sack, and you go right back to 2 runs and a third and long throw. Like, what are we doing? Like, no one was told throughout the week, like, come up with something better than that.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm right there with you. I will say there was one little piece of innovation we saw, and that little piece of innovation was that they actually did run a jet sweep. They actually ran 2 of them, and they worked. The fact that we're talking about that is like the kind of like the big new thing.
That's like a standard play in 2021 in football.
And you'd think it'd be even more standard for this particular team, given just like the players that they have. All that kind of stuff. But yeah, we can move along though. So a couple drives later, first one, 3 plays, -7 yards. Kind of the 2021 CU Buff special. But from there, they punt on the next drive after gaining 8 yards. From there, though, they put together a nice drive, and you start to see a little bit of life. They get down the field. I think at that point they're down 14-0. No, just 7-0. Yeah. Just 7-0. Okay. And they try to kick a field goal, and I believe it's a 46-yard field goal. That field goal gets blocked. 1-10. Where does that fit in on the scale?
Again, like, my honest answer is I didn't feel any pain at the time. I turned to the ASU fan who was next to me before the kick and was like, he hasn't made a kick all season. Like, there's nothing to worry about here. And then he missed. But like, trying to think of the feelings of a real human, it hurt to me when they got the field goal later. And it was like, oh, this would be a 1-score game if they made it earlier, if they made that earlier kick. And the whole thing was just like so slow, and just when you look back on that kick, it was like really poorly executed. Like it really had nothing to do with Becker. It was just really bad job by them. So yeah, I mean, it was, I guess, a 5.
Okay, sounds good. How about Terrence Lang? When he got a sack, a great sack, except for the fact that he grabbed the quarterback by the dead center of his face mask. He did let go, to his credit. That one sucked though, right? When that happened.
Yeah, that's a straight, like, by the book classic Buff shit. So that one was annoying. That one was painful. That one was frustrating. That's a 6.5.
Okay. And a couple series later, another just incredible play by Terrence Lang. Oh wait, no. That one he didn't get there in time. That was the one where they called it like a roughing the passer or something like that. And that's another play that extended the drives, and those were actually the 2 touchdown drives that were extended on those 2 penalties. Also 6.5, or was that hurt more, hurt less because he'd done it before?
I think it was a little bit less. But again, it's just like, dude, what are you doing? Henry, we did 2 shows with the ASU people down here, and they're like, oh, what's going to happen is ASU is going to bail out CU with some really dumb penalties. And it was the other way around, where CU gave them 2 touchdowns, both of their touchdown drives aided by 15-yard penalties early in the game. And then later there was a missed penalty that aided one of their touchdowns. So that one. I don't know. I guess maybe it builds up a little bit, goes up to a 7 because you're like, oh, so this is what's going to happen.
Yeah, I thought some good analysis.
I was just handed a Frosty. That's like a -5 on the pain scale.
Wow, the Wendy's got here. I can't believe it got here this fast. I guess we are 15 minutes into this.
Do you want your food?
No, I probably shouldn't eat a cheeseburger during the show, right? we're above that at least. Let's go with this one. This will be a fun one. This isn't like a moment. This is the entire game put together. Brendon Lewis, 7 of 17 passing, 67 yards. Pain scale. Where does that fit in for you?
Honestly, the fact that Brendon Lewis is another bust for the Buffs at quarterback is like a 10. Like he's just one of those people that was like really easy to believe in. I did have concerns about his arm strength. I really didn't have concerns about him being like able to throw the football. And I don't mean like I mean like actually be able to take the football and like attempt to put it from his hand to someone else's hand. I didn't expect that's a fresh one for Buffs fans. Like we've been through everything. I thought having a quarterback who doesn't want to throw the football is a new one for us. So that one does like peak me out on the pain scale because I wasn't mentally prepared for this new type of quarterback struggle.
That was all just a very good point. And yeah, it's tough. That's a good one. Can't blame Lewis for JT Shrout getting hurt. We'll talk about some of this stuff in the blame game. But yeah, I mean, I'm not ready to call Brendon Lewis a bust. I think that there's a chance that at some point he becomes a starting caliber quarterback. It is very obvious that is not what he is right now, though. And boy, does that just suck to watch.
Yeah.
7 of 17 for 67 yards. I'll call that a 6.5. Yeah.
I mean, it was a step in the right direction for him. Like, as kind of sad as that is, considering how low the bar was, it was a step in the right direction for him. He took some shots downfield, drew a couple pass interference penalties by, putting out balls that were catchable. I saw him make 1 or 2 quick decisions when his first read was there. But I just I don't know why he is having this like intense lack of confidence. It's that to me is like the most painful part is like, man, like we talked about it. He doesn't need to be looking over his shoulder. Like they really don't want to put in his backup. And at this point, I'm just like, throw a pick, dude. Like it's cool. Just throw a pick. I want you to feel what it feels like to throw a pick. It's not that big of a deal. It's not the end of the world. It's not what you want, but sometimes you just have to throw it. Just let it fly. Just go out there and just play ball. And he just looks so hesitant to just play ball. And I don't know where that's coming from or why that's going on. And I think part of it is a coaching issue, but they just got like, I for sure thought that would be today. And again, like if he went out there and on that first 3rd down threw a pick, I would have been less mad. I would have been less mad than him taking that sack. Because I would have been like, oh, well, at least someone this week told him to just go play. Go let it fly. Throw the ball. But he gets back there. He doesn't trust what he's looking at. He's afraid that there's like, someone behind the next door that's going to pop out and take the football. And it's really frustrating. It's like I said, it's a new thing on the pain scale, because it's like, dude, just let it rip. Just try.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that maybe the worst part of all of it is that like he knows things aren't going well. Like obviously that is clear to everybody at this point, but to see him just like see things not going well and then just kind of tighten up even more, and that's kind of the killer in the whole thing, is that like, what if things had somehow gone better in the first game and he gains just some confidence and he starts flinging the ball around just a little bit, like it's spiraling is the issue, because things aren't going well, and so then he tightens up and is like, oh no, I can't let things get worse, and it's just I don't know. We talked about it earlier, right when we got home, and I mean, you said like, I guess Brendon might have taken just a little baby step forward in this game. And I kind of agree. I feel like the offense was moving, like not enough, but they did make it across midfield a few more times. It's not like they were going 3 and out every time like they were before. And I do think this is another game, and it's probably like 3 of those in a row where you're like, yeah, Brendon took just a baby step forward, but all 3 of those little baby steps together, I'm not even sure that equates to like a step forward for game 1. I would say it hasn't equated to that. It's just like, and maybe we're close to hitting that step. And to be honest, the Buffs need for that to happen.
Yeah, the tough thing is just that, I mean, not that ASU is like an easy game, but the competition, you're in Pac-12 play now. Like, it's not getting much easier there. Yeah, of course, Arizona's on the schedule. That's a funny comment. But other than that, like, it's gonna get tough. It's just there's gonna be better defenses out there than what you faced against Minnesota. Like, so that's where my fear is. But Joe said in the comments, like, well, how do the Buffs fix this? Like, where do they go from here? That's like the biggest problem, and this is like what's going to be so hard on the fans is there's just nowhere else to turn. So yeah, we can talk about throw Drew Carter out there. Can maybe he like get hot and string together a drive? He looks like he might be capable of that when I saw him out there, but he's not all of a sudden gonna be the savior this year. He might help them put a couple more points on the board, but to me, the answer or where they turn from here is getting way, way, way more creative on offense. I mean, really having to dig deep and say, like, hey, what can we do to make things really easy for him? I saw they tried some RPO tonight. It's clear that that's not a strength for him. And another thing that's really frustrating is he's not reading the defense when they run zone read. He did have a couple nice ones, but there's so many times where, the zone read is supposed to be really easy on the quarterback. You watch the defensive end. If they crash, you keep it. If they stay at home, you hand it off. It's supposed to be really simple. And several times in the game, he did the wrong one. And so again, I just think he's questioning everything. He's thinking really hard when he's being asked to do things. But I do think like some option concepts, more zone read, more RPO, more bubble screens, more pop passes. They have to really, really, really try to do that. And then the other thing that I think they need a hell of a lot more of is vertical throws. That's something that you don't have to think very hard about. It's a go up there and give your guy a chance to make a play. We know that this team has guys who can make a play downfield. Brendon Rice has yet to get a chance on a vertical route, and that is the one that's just like there's no reading there. You look out there, you say, okay, Brendon Rice has single coverage. Have a quick little hot route that you go to and encourage him to say, hey, if you have it out there, give it, because like we saw tonight, there's 3 scenarios here. It's you complete it, or I guess there's 4, including an interception. But it's you complete it, you throw a pick, which ends up being an arm punt. you get a pass interference or it just falls, incomplete. But it looked to me like he has decent touch on those balls. So that's something I really think they need to take a lot more. You got single coverage out there, just throw it up.
I agree. I totally agree. And specifically on third downs. And I guess maybe that was kind of the plan a couple of times, but there's so many third down sacks in the last couple of weeks that who knows what the plan was. But those are situations where I really think it's an arm punt. You look at it as an arm punt and hope for the best. Yeah. Let's just hit a couple more of these. How about Jarek Broussard, 12 carries, 38 yards? Or no, it's a net of 35. He lost some. 12 for 35 for Jarek, 2.9 yards per carry. Where's that on the pain scale?
Well, it hurts because, last season it just looked like it was going to be so easy for him. And it was so easy for him last year. It's like you give him the ball, 1 out of 3 of these things is a first down at the very least, if not 25 to 75 yards. So the fact that he just doesn't have it right now, and it goes all the way back to that UNC game. So we haven't seen it ever from him this season. You do see little bursts. You see the sick moves in the hole. You see him have some sort, he's not just completely not there anymore. The fact that he's not breaking any is just kind of befuddling. It hurts though. That's an 8 just because you're like, okay, that's the next great running back at CU, last season. And for whatever reason, it's just not happening this year. I do think the Buffs are telegraphing a little bit. I mean, they're telegraphing run on every play. So it's so easy for teams to just be like, okay, well, especially when Jarek's in there, they're going to run inside zone out of the shotgun. So just blow up those gaps on that side and take them away. So again, what's tough for someone like Jarek is the quarterback not having any ability to throw the football completely takes him out of the game too. We've seen this with the Broncos and their running backs in years past when they had such struggles at quarterback. When defenses aren't afraid of you beating them with your arm, everyone's life just got way harder because they'll send big blitzes on third down. They will, pack the box on first and second down. And again, you have to consistently make big throws and make big plays to get them to stop doing that. And it's very clear that at his current stage of his development, Brendon Lewis just doesn't have the ability to do that. So it takes it out of everyone.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, you covered all those thoughts too. How about this? There was a third down in the third quarter. A good ball from Brendon puts it on Ty Robinson's hands, and it bounces right off of Ty Robinson's hands. There are a couple drops in the game. To me, those are big on the pain scale. When you have plays that should be completions and the receivers don't do their part, that's just a killer.
Yeah, all of those mistakes get so magnified when the quarterback isn't playing well. And then he finally does something very well. And on the other side, there's a breakdown. That one hurts. I'll tell you what was the highest thing on the pain scale in this game for me, Henry, is this defense has been so good all season. And they obviously have gotten really worn down in these last 2 games. But the offense goes out there and they make it a 1-score game. And for the first time all night, there's some Buffs fans making some noise. I mean, Buffs fans are in a really dark place right now. But finally, there's a fight song. There's some momentum. It's 14-10. And you're thinking, wow, this game could turn on its head really quick if this defense goes out there and forces a 3-and-out. And for the first time all season, really, the defense actually lets the offense down because they really had some momentum from that drive. And they go out there and just get methodically picked apart the other way, and it ends in 7, and it's just like, okay, well, it's over. Like that was the opportunity. Like if the Buffs were going to win this game, it was probably going to be 17-14. And the defense was going to have to hold them the whole second half. And like I said, they finally gather some momentum, and then the defense, who has been so awesome, just isn't able to really make anything happen the rest of the game. And so that's as high as this game got on the pain scale.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I would say next to Brian Howell, and there was that same point where I said, hey, if they force a 3-and-out right here, they might have a little bit of momentum. And then he like kind of looked at me, and I was like, okay, maybe a little bit too early to be throwing the M word around right now. But that absolutely was the potential like turning point in this game, a chance for the Buffs to take the momentum. And I agree. The defense did let them down. And from there saying, okay, well, now the offense needs to go just like fly down the field and make something happen. And you say that and you're like, well, they just did that, but I still don't believe that is going to happen. I think we've kind of talked through the pain here.
Really quick, but then they come out the next drive after Jarek and Fontenot just had their best drive of the season, potentially, other than maybe that drive against A&M. And they came out with a shot. And I was like, of all the times to do this doesn't seem like the one.
Yeah. I don't know. Ashad was definitely in there. It looks like Jarek was in first on that
first play.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So they came out with Jarek. Incomplete pass, then Jarek for 8, Jarek for 4 for the first down. And then after that, Ashad came in and the drive stalled out. But yeah, well, we were talking. So that drive, we think up in the press box, was the first time Kanan Ray came in, and it came in for Casey Roddick at guard. And that was right after they'd run down the field and just trampled guys, and things were working. And that might not be true. Injury. That might not be true. And it could be injury, but we also know that they were expecting, or they like to rotate 7 guys on the offensive line. And, we'll go back through the tape on Monday and see what actually happened there. So tune into the DNVR Buffs podcast. But if that is what happened, they made a change on the offensive line after they trampled Arizona State down the field. That would be a disappointing decision. Yeah, I think that we've covered the pain. We've talked through it. We can get to the blame game here in a second. First, though, Hassel Cattle Company, they make damn good beef. And you talked a little bit, Ryan, about how crazy the last few hours have been. Well, we're kind of just getting into it. Obviously, we're live right now. I've got to write some stuff tonight. We're headed to the airport or bright and early in the morning because we've got to be at the DNVR bar.
It will not be bright. It will be dark and early.
But it'll still be just dumb hot because that's the way Arizona always is. But yeah, because we have got the tailgate in Denver at 9:30 at the DNVR bar. So we'll be there for that and potentially getting some good old Hassel Cattle Wagyu burgers from the DNVR bar. They're a great deal. They're obviously Wagyu beef, which you don't find all that often. And if you aren't going to be able to make it to the DNVR bar to watch that game for the watch party or the tailgate, I guess, you can always order Hassel Cattle beef to your house. It's really good stuff. You can get any sort of like steaks, but then also like beef jerky or beef bacon or a whole bunch of that stuff too. They win a bunch of awards. They call it blue collar Wagyu because that's affordable for any man or woman. And you can get 10% off with the code DNVR10 at HassellCattleCompany.com. That's HASSELL cattlecompany.com. They ship all over the United States. So check them out. Like I said, it's good stuff. Also, want to tell you guys about Ball. So if you're looking for You bribe me, Steven. Don't bribe Ryan. I promise it'll work if you bribe me. But Ball, they make cans. If you have been drinking things out of cans recently, could be a Ball can. Ryan, did you have any beverages out of cans at the game?
I did not. I did have several beverages before the game at the Crafty Devils tailgate. Shout out to them for hosting us. That was actually really fun. Those were out of cans, but then poured into plastic custom cups, and they were definitely Ball cans.
Oh, of course. And basically everything is a Ball can because, last year they made 101 billion cans. Just a crazy number. I could honestly just sit here for like 15 minutes and just think about that number. 101
I'm sure
billion.
you can, dude.
It's 101 billion. Can. But yeah,
wouldn't
obviously,
surprise me a little bit.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
101 billion cans. Obviously, that's a crazy number. It's distracting me from saying the rest of the things I need to say because it's such a big number. It means that they're really good cans, though.
For your 101 billion thoughts right now.
So many cans. If you want to help them make cans or in basically any part of the process, there's a 400-person plant out in Golden where they make a whole bunch of cans. I actually don't know if they make stuff other than cans there because there's like aluminum cups. There's basically anything you can make out of aluminum. Ball does it. But if you're interested, text Golden to 77222. You'll get a link to the open positions. You can also go directly to jobs.ball.com and search for Golden. That's jobs.ball.com and search for Golden, or simply text Golden to 77222. All right.
Real quick, why are people talking about bribing in the comments? What kind of bribes are we? What are we trying to bribe people for?
I think to get into the tailgate.
Yeah, I mean it's just $20.
Why would you say that when they want to give us more than that, Ryan? Have you ever run a business? Do you know how business works? What a business is?
Yes, you don't swindle your customers out of money. That's how businesses work.
Okay, whatever you say, expert. But we're gonna move on to the blame game, and that's the part where hopefully we become just a little bit more, not just like down in the dumps,
vengeful.
And we can analyze. Yeah, and say who was to blame for the things that happened. And I'll ask you, Ryan. We're just gonna go through some rankings here. Number one to blame for the Buffs' loss tonight. You've got some options. Who are you taking?
Carl Jarrell.
Okay.
In the end, it all it all falls on his plate. And when things go as bad as they went last week, you've got to do something, bro. Like you have to. Your job is to do something about this. And I don't think he did anything about it. And clearly, the results didn't change much. Obviously, they do score 13 points. Could have been 16. Could you imagine? But to me, it felt way too much like more of the same. And it's just, I mean, Carl Durrell, he has some really good qualities and he has a track record of putting teams in bowl games. And there are times when the low-key thing works for me. Where it's like, oh, he doesn't get too high, doesn't get too low. Like he's very even keel. Like that, that can be a positive. Right now, it's not. That's not working for me. I need to see him get mad at someone. Like I need to see him fire someone. I need to see him change someone's duties. Obviously, the person that we're thinking about right now is Darren Cheverini. Something has to change. Someone's got to do something. It's the head coach's job to do something. So honestly, like for me, from here on out, that's going to be the person who most of this blame is going on. It's up to him to get this thing fixed, and to go from last week to this week and not make any changes that were visible to me from the stands. Is just not acceptable.
Yeah, I think that's an interesting one because I didn't go Carl number one. and we'll talk about my number one later. Also, you guys in the chat, if you guys want to give us your rankings or whatever, we'd love to see what you guys think about this. But yeah, I think
I don't know if this is talking about it all. This comment. I know who it is, but I don't know what that means.
Yeah, I think that you can go Carl, and I think that does make sense, and I do think that the even keeled thing, it definitely isn't a great look at the very least, because people are upset, and yeah, it would be nice. And I will say that I do think that Carl has proven he'll make hard decisions. And I don't think that that's really the concern here, is like, he's not going to do anything. Firing Tyson Summers after a pretty solid defensive performance last season, that is evidence to me that he will make hard decisions. And I think that taking away play calling duties or whatever with Darren Cheverini, it's I don't know. It needs to happen at some point, because things aren't going well. And I think that, what did Carl do this week? Carl said that he would be more involved in the game planning and that sort of stuff. And I think that we did see a little bit of a step forward from this offense. Remember, it was negative 19 rushing yards last week. Just brutal to think about. And so the offense was better. It wasn't enough better. There's still plenty more that needs to be done. And you're right, though. It does kind of fall on, obviously, the head coach at some point, especially when things are stagnating. And then I try to put myself in Carl's shoes and say, like, what would be my plan in this situation? Because we know that the quarterback, he's not getting the job done, and you don't have any options there. And so how quickly do you just pull the trigger on Darren Cheverini and say, this is him? I think that from Carl's perspective, he's probably thinking you've got Minnesota, you've got Arizona State, you've got USC, 3 pretty tough opponents, and then you've got a bye week. And so maybe you just run through that, and then if something needs to change, you change it the bye week. And I do think that that's kind of the plan here. And if you say that isn't enough of a sense of urgency, given what we've seen, I believe that too. I could get behind that. But I don't have Carl Durrell number one. Any more thoughts before we move on?
Who do you have number one?
Darren Chevery, or sorry, Brendon Lewis on this one.
Man, it's so hard for me to put it on a player.
It's not his fault.
Right. This is the blame game, which
exactly.
is about assessing whose fault it is.
It's not his fault that he's struggling like he's struggling. It's not his fault that he's not ready for this job that he has to do. At the same time, though, you're just not going to be able to beat a team like Arizona State with Brendon Lewis at quarterback at this point. And that doesn't mean that he won't figure it out even at some point this season. But, he just cannot get the job done. He cannot complete passes. He can't throw for 100 yards. Is the system perfect for him? No, not at all. Not at all. The offensive line isn't helping him either. And that's the thing, is there's plenty of blame going around. And yeah, how can you blame a 19-year-old kid for being put in a trash offense? Yeah, there's that part too. And that's where Darren Cheverini is number 2 for me. And honestly, I think it's pretty close between Brendon, Cheverini, and the offensive line. With Carl Durrell coming in at number 4, just because it all does kind of fall on his plate. But I just think that Brendon's struggles are kind of insurmountable at this point, regardless of the offense.
Yeah, for me, it's so hard for me to blame Brendon, because he's still not being put in the best position to succeed in my eyes. So it's up to the coaches to figure out a way to make him succeed. Now, again, a lot of his issues are mental. And again, I just think that's coaching. He needs to be coached better to get some of that stuff. But he also essentially has the yips. And that it's something that he doesn't. I don't know if he even has control over, but they've got to just figure out a way. Like I said, I'm not kidding you when I say I would prefer that he went 11 of 30 with 4 interceptions, then 7 of 17 and 150 yards, then 7 and 17 for 67 yards or whatever it was, and no interceptions. Like, it's just what is currently happening is not a benefit. Like, I know they probably told him a lot before the season, like, hey, we're going to run the ball. We really want you to protect it and manage the game. And it's just not working. So just throw it. Just throw the rock around, see what happens. I mean, he has arm talent. That throw he made to Montana Lemonius Craig on the sideline was like an incredible throw.
It was.
Couldn't have been thrown any better. And the ball was in harm's way, and something good happened. So put the ball in harm's way. I don't care. Just throw that thing.
Yep. Totally agree. Like I said, though, number 2 for me, Darren Cheverini. Again, and it's a tough call, but to me, it's like, even if Darren Cheverini did like coach his brains out, I don't think that it would be enough for them to put up the 35, 38 points, just given who they have running things. But he is number 2 because, there's more out there. There is plenty more out there. And you just got to get more creative, because he does know that things aren't working. And who knows, maybe next week is the week they just say, we're going triple option. We're just going to start doing things like that.
Fastest offense to install.
Yeah. Why aren't we seeing 2 running backs on the field at the same time? Like those Jaley Stacks as fullbacks sometimes, but to not have Fontenot and Broussard out there together at any point, like, you have depth there. You do have depth there, and just try it. Just try it, because there's some misdirection things that you can run, but what's going on isn't working, obviously. And again, like, you can go back and I don't know. In doing these rankings, I wasn't thinking like the coaches haven't developed Brendon to the point. And so putting that part of the blame on the coaches, I didn't do that. I just said, today is what happened. Brendon is what Brendon is. And what he is was not a guy who could make things happen. But yeah, Darren Cheverini, you got to figure something out. You've got to figure something out.
Jesus with a really good point in the comments here. He says, go to bed, LOL. Should be considered.
We're getting close. We're getting real close.
Should be considered.
Except it isn't even bed after this for me. It's write 2 things so that I don't have to drunk write something after Broncos game. I haven't slept for. We're
gonna have to make that terrible decision of like, is it worth it to even go to bed, or do you just stay up?
I was telling those guys in the press box, like, I don't think that I just looking at the schedule, I have to think, you're not sleeping tonight, you're working all night. And if all of a sudden there's a 30-minute window that opens up because I worked so efficiently, that's just awesome. That's just going to be awesome for me. But I can't even think about that right now.
All right, let's move on.
Yeah. Nobody else you want to blame? Offensive line. I'll throw that out there real quick.
Yeah.
That was my number 3. They have really struggled for a couple of games. And yeah, you don't have Max Ray today, who was your starting tackle last week and a guy we thought would be the starting tackle, but he was pretty bad last week when he did play before he got hurt, and that's just kind of been the case. You struggled. There was that one drive where they really did manhandle Arizona State, and I'm excited to go back through and just see what happened on that drive that they were able to run so well. Alex Fontenot had a decent game. We'll get to that to kind of close things out here in a minute, but it's just
I'd like to blame the administration for not committing to football more.
That is a good one. That is a really good point. And I don't think that's more of like our end of the season blame game. Yeah. But yeah, that is a big problem. And there's a way to win without it. But
you have to get really lucky with a coach. Guess what happened when CU got really lucky with a coach and they nailed the hire. Now he's winning games at Michigan State. Although, pushed to the brink by Scott Frost in Nebraska today. What do they do? What's up with that?
I don't know. Well, let's not go down that tangent too.
Yeah. Okay.
I think that's it for blame for me. Anything else you want to touch on?
No.
Cool. Well, we're going to wrap things up going positive here. First, want to remind you guys about DraftKings Sportsbook. If you haven't signed up yet, they keep coming up with great sign-up deals, but it's time to just take advantage because these aren't going to last forever. There's no way they can last forever. But there's obviously a bunch of football going on tomorrow. If you bet $1 on any football game tomorrow, you get $150 in free bets instantly. So you can use that to bet on all the other games tomorrow. You can use that to like throw in your account and just use it over the course of the season, whatever. It's a great way to get started. And it's a great way to learn because the truth is the first couple bets you make, it's tough to know what you want to be betting on. This obviously gives you plenty of wiggle room with $150 in free bets instantly when you bet $1 on any football game this week. They've also got a new same game parlay feature. That means you can bet on that Thursday night game. I had Phil Lindsay to get a touchdown, Sam Darnold to throw 2 picks. Actually, I think I might have missed everything that I bet on in that same game parlay.
Actually, just as impressive as hitting everything.
Isn't that weird to think about? It is weird to think about. But yeah, as Joe Fowler says, it's easier to bet with DNVR bets. So definitely tune in with Dre and RK every weekday for that stuff. But also just get that free money. Like I said, bet $1 with the code DNVR, get $150 in free bets instantly. And that's with DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. Must be 21 or older, Colorado only, new customers only, restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-522-4700.
Wait,
all right.
Can I say one more thing I'm annoyed about before we
say whatever?
What the hell are they doing kicking that field goal at the end?
I mean, Cole Becker needs the work too.
Okay, that's the only acceptable thing is like, yes, fine, he needed a rep or two. But you're down 35-10. It's 4th and 4?
Mm-hmm.
4th and 4 from like the 20. Have some pride. Go try to score a touchdown. Yeah. Like, what is going on there? That was embarrassing to me.
Huh. Yeah.
And it blew the under. Which can't be ignored.
Cannot.
But it was just, that was so, I don't know. It was like, it felt like save face move of like, 35-13 feels a little bit better than 35-10 for me. So I think we're going to go with that.
I know. It is crazy though. And I was talking with Adam Munster Tiger about this at the end of the game when we were walking down to the field. And it was like, yeah, 35-13, honestly, kind of what I expected from this game. But just to watch 35-13 happen over the course of 3.5 hours, it's just brutal. You prepare yourself for the score. You don't necessarily prepare yourself for just
the path.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But we're ending on a positive note, and that means we're talking about our DraftKings king of the game, Alex Fontenot. And it just sucks to talk with him after this game. Because obviously nobody's happy, but Alex, obviously, like when we were talking to him, he took it pretty hard, and it just sucked to have to be so negative because on top of him having a good game, 14 carries, 65 yards, a touchdown, 4.6 average, according to the graphic.
I was going to say, what a DNVR thing to do to try to change the yards and average abbreviations into 4 letters.
I know. I love it. Yeah, you're behind the scenes, always killing it. But he surpassed 1,000 rushing yards for his career today. And it's just kind of a dark day to do that. But even with Jarek Broussard's struggles, Alex played well. And I've been just a little bit disappointed in Alex so far this season, and I put most of the blame on the offensive line, and that's why even looking at the numbers again, -19 team rushing yards last week. I was still able to say like, yeah, a lot of this isn't his fault, but it was just good to see him get out there and have a nice night.
Yeah, it was. It was really good. And 1,000 rushing yards in your career is a nice milestone to hit. He's had some really big moments as a Buff. He's a good back, and it was really nice to see him look good again today. Like he just looked like a legit Pac-12 back again. It had been a while. So happy for him, man. Again, Jarek, kind of opened up that drive by, breaking out of a little bit. And then they were able to bring in Alex, and he just kind of followed up right behind him. And it's like, man, that was the type of thing we were imagining before the season started about this run game is, okay, you go out with Jarek and then you hit him with Alex, and just hasn't happened. But again, it's not those guys' fault. It really comes down to the quarterback. And again, I feel bad for Brendon Lewis because I think Chase said it in the comments earlier, like, it's not his fault that he was put in this position. JT was obviously going to be the starter. And it's a little bit hindsight 2020 now. It clearly was a competition. So
for sure,
it's not as if he was a million times better than Brendon. But there were, people we had talked to, especially in the spring, were saying, okay, well, it looks like JT's the leader. And then you had said it was a little bit closer come fall. But either way, he's being put in a tough position that he's clearly not qualified to do right now. So I hate to, pile on him, and especially to any fans or anything who are like going after him on social media. Get a life is what I would say. But it does fall on the fact that the Buffs can't throw the football, that the running backs don't look as good as they used to, because there's absolutely no threat of anything getting over the top of those defensive backs. So they're creeping in. The linebackers are playing even closer to the line of scrimmage. It's just a big traffic jam anywhere you're trying to run the ball.
Yeah, it gets to the point where it feels like there's just like 13, 14 defenders out there. It's like, how is it so hard? But we're going positive. We're going positive. Helmet stickers.
Oh, right.
Now. What you got for helmet stickers? Gonna have to dig deep.
Alex Fontenot gets one automatically.
Yep.
Nate Landman. Yes.
That was mine.
That's an easy one.
Yep.
9 solo tackles. The dude is just an absolute machine out there. And I don't know where we would be without him. I hate that this is the way it's going to go down for him his senior year. I can kind of see the way of the rest of the season is going to play out. I hope I'm wrong about that.
Sure.
It's just a bummer, but he's a lock for the Buffalo Heart Award. He's a great. He'll be remembered for a long time, and as the next in a line of great linebackers who have come through here. And he's a special player, a special kid, and I'm just sad. I'm sad that his senior year is going to probably go this way.
Yep. I mean, the good news is it's not over yet. There's still a bunch of games left.
And he sticks people in the hole, and it's badass.
And Buffs have USC next week, and USC lost 45-27 to Oregon State tonight. We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens.
27.
That's a big number. I'll give one to Christian Gonzalez. He's backing up what he did at Texas, or in the Texas A&M game. Big tackle for loss tonight. Just provides a lot out on the edge. Finished with 7 tackles. That's more than I would have guessed. Yeah. Francois Simmons chiming in with the Josh Watts for sure. If you guys have any,
didn't think he was very good.
But I agreed. And we were talking about it. I was like, this is a bit of a disappointing night. Still averaged 47.8.
Oh, okay. He got some nice bounces.
He did get some nice bounces.
Is that net average?
What?
Was that net average? Oh, I guess because the two big returns they had got called back.
Yep. If anybody else has any helmet stickers, any nominations, feel free to throw those in the chat while we wrap up here. Anything else from you, Ryan, on helmet stickers?
Ooh, helmet Snickers.
I'm so hungry. I've been thinking about the Wendy's out there, the cold Wendy's.
I would have to go with Cole Becker, finally on the board. With 6 points today, personally accounting for 6 more points than we had last week.
Nice. Glad to hear about that again.
I got to give it to him. He made a long one. That was great. He broke the streak. He prevented us from going 8 full quarters without a point. That's 2 football games. So in the end, it was just 7 quarters and 11 minutes and 44 seconds.
It's over now. We don't need to think about that. It's over now. The Buffs can score points. Things are going to get better. We do know that. I think, a freshman quarterback is going to be better in his 8th start than he is in his 4th start. That's just what is going to happen. How much better? A big question, and something we just kind of have to wait and see. But also, the offensive line, it's got to get better. It's got to get better because, it can't really get much worse than what we've seen to this point. And I do think that changes could be on the way here shortly within the next. I think the bye week is kind of the time that you look for those at this point. Yeah, Buffs aren't playing good football. But
do you think it would help if the offensive line coach wasn't just like a guy who developed a blocking system thing?
Yeah, we don't need to go deep down that road. But I will say, in his defense, he's still getting his guys into the system, into the program. The guys that are out there are really struggling, which could be their fault. It could be the coach's fault. It's definitely somebody's fault, and I bet it's probably both fault, if we're being honest. But that's a rough group right now.
Yeah, and it's not as if, because as Francois says, it's a team of mostly underclassmen. Not that group, though. That group has some returners.
They do. And that's tough. But to get back to my positive point,
sorry, I'm really not allowing you to go there.
No, you're not. And honestly, I can't blame you. But they have young players. They've got to be getting better. The defense can do better than what we saw tonight. And hey, if the defense forces a couple turnovers, which I think that at some point the turnovers have to come back because they are talented, maybe that does help them, spot them at least 10 points. You get field goal and touchdown out of it. Who knows? I'm not totally out on this team yet. I think the path to a bowl game is it's disappearing before our eyes, but you've got a USC team that's really scrambling. They have basically nothing in the trenches. And
what's crazy though about that is, and again, this is aside from the performance on the field so far, they've only really lost one game as it stands right now that we had penciled in as part of the path to a bowl game. And that's, of course, the Minnesota game, which is funny to look back on now. I guess if you are into dark humor like I am, but we didn't expect them to beat Texas A&M. We didn't expect them to beat Arizona State on the road, or else I didn't, at least.
Yep. I thought they had a chance, but no, I didn't think they'd do it.
Right.
Especially after last week.
The one that hurts so much right now is that Texas A&M one. It's just you're one play away from winning that game. And all of a sudden it probably changes the trajectory, I think, of where we are now. But yeah, they will get better. They really will. Brendon Lewis will get better. His processor has to speed up, and it will speed up. How fast it will, you just never know. He is in a unique position here where he has no choice but to start to learn and just figure out what he's looking at and know where he can go with the ball and there's no, again, in any other situation, he would have been benched by now, or he never would have been out there in the first place. But now he's out there, and he will learn. He'll just learn from his mistakes or his almost like lack of mistakes. But the mistakes that he's missing, he'll start to see them more and more and more, and he will get better. He'll get better.
He will. And I think we'll leave it at that. Thanks for jumping on, Brian. If you guys want to see more of us, 7.5 hours will be well, a little less than that, actually.
Totally different vibes.
Well, yeah. I wonder what that vibe is going to be. Well, I mean, what we have to start. We all start with shots. We all have to spin the wheel of darkness.
Yeah.
So look forward to that 9:30 Mountain Time, the DNVR YouTube channel.
My life is kind of like a spinning wheel of darkness right now.
Okay, we got to get you off this show. That's going to do it. We'll see you guys in the morning.